the 10-minute daily ritual for intimate wellness after 60, a gynecologist's protocol. Have you ever found yourself wondering if something as incredibly simple as dedicating 10 minutes a day to yourself could fundamentally change the way your body feels, the way your confidence flows, and even the very way that you move through the world after the age of 60? I know that it sounds almost too good to be true, but please allow me to share a profound secret with you. After more than 3 decades of caring for women who are just like you, I have learned that the small, consistent, and intentional choices that you make for yourself each and every day will often matter far more than any pill, any supplement, or any medical procedure. And when it comes to the crucial matter of your intimate health, those precious 10 minutes can be the definitive difference between feeling disconnected from your own body and feeling vibrantly and wonderfully alive. I am Dr. Lily Stones, a gynecologist with over 30 years of dedicated experience supporting women through every single stage of their lives, and that includes the unique and often challenging season of aging gracefully in the years after menopause. And today we are going to explore a gentle, practical, and highly effective daily routine that takes no more than 10 minutes to complete, yet it possesses the incredible power to help restore your physical sensation, to strengthen your pelvic floor, to improve your overall circulation, and to gently lift your mood. Now, before we dive into the how, please allow me to ask you something of great importance. Have you ever attempted to do Kegel exercises? Perhaps you tried them after reading about them in a magazine, or after hearing a well-meaning friend mention them, only to be left feeling completely unsure if you were even doing them correct. Or perhaps you simply gave up on them altogether because you did not notice any immediate or dramatic results. If so, please know that you are not at all alone in that experience. 2 of the most common mistakes that I see in my own clinical practice are women who are squeezing their muscles far too hard, almost to the point of holding their breath, or women who are only practicing these exercises sporadically, perhaps just once or twice a month, and who then end up feeling deeply frustrated when nothing at all seems to change for them. That is precisely why today's conversation is going to be so different. We are not going to be talking about any kind of complicated programs or any kind of rigid and unforgiving regimens. Instead, I am going to walk you step by step through a very short and simple daily practice that beautifully blends the elements of intentional breathing, of proper moisturizing, of a light and mindful pelvic engagement, and of a gentle form of stimulation, all of which have been specifically designed for the unique needs of women who are over the age of 60. Think of it as being just like the daily habit of brushing your teeth, a simple and an automatic practice that works to quietly preserve your health day after day. And here is the part that most people do not ever realize. When you make a commitment to this kind of a daily routine, your body will not just respond on a purely physical level, it will also respond on an emotional and a hormonal level as well. According to extensive research that has been conducted by both the Mayo Clinic and the Cleveland Clinic, even a light but a regular form of arousal can work to promote a healthy state of circulation, to help preserve the natural elasticity of the tissues, and to help maintain the delicate and crucial balance of the hormones and the neurotransmitters that are responsible for protecting your mood and your overall sense of resilience. In other words, these 10 precious minutes are not at all about a sense of indulgence. They are about the practices of maintenance, of prevention, and of profound self-respect. I will never forget a dear patient of mine whom I will call Marjorie, who first came to see me when she was in her early 70s. She told me with tears welling up in her eyes, "Stones, I feel as though my own body has simply gone quiet, as if a very important part of me has somehow been switched off." She was not experiencing any particular pain, and she was not in any way sick. She just felt a deep and a pervasive sense of being less connected to herself. Together we began to work on a simple 10-minute daily practice. It was nothing at all overwhelming, just a few moments of intentional breathing, the application of a good quality moisturizer, a few simple Kegel exercises, and some form of mindful and gentle touch. Within just a few short weeks, she began to notice that the quality of her sleep was improving, and within a couple of months she said to me, "I truly feel more like myself again." And that, to me, is the very heart of this important work. So here is my personal invitation to you. Please stay with me until the very end of our conversation, because I am going to guide you through this simple 10-minute plan in great detail. And I will also be sure to share with you the 2 biggest mistakes that I so often see women making when they are first trying to do Kegel exercises, and I will show you exactly how you can begin to avoid them starting today. Even if you have been feeling disconnected from your own body for many months, for many years, or even for many decades, please know that it is not at all too late for you. Your body is still patiently waiting for your attention, and it has the incredible capacity to be able to respond in a beautiful and a positive way, no matter what your age may be. But before we dive into the exact steps of this practice, I would like for you to please take a moment to pause and to reflect. When was the very last time that you gave yourself the full and unconditional permission to be able to focus solely and completely on your own personal comfort, on your own vitality, and on your own intimate sense of well-being? For far too many women, the answer to that question is a very, very long time ago. But today, all of that can change. Because this is not just a lesson in how to do a few simple exercises. It is a profound and a powerful reminder that you still matter and that your health and your joy are absolutely worth just 10 short minutes of your day. And by the end of this video, I truly think that you will begin to see just how much those 10 precious minutes can begin to give back to you. Now let's begin. When I first introduced the idea of a short, daily and intimate self-care routine, a great many women will tell me, "But Dr. Stones, I have already tried that before and it simply did not work for me." And when we take a closer look at what they were doing, the issue can usually be traced back to a few very common and very understandable mistakes. Mistakes that are so incredibly easy to, especially when no one has ever taken the time to teach you what is really going on deep inside of your own body in the years after the age of 60. The very first and most common mistake that I see is women who are unconsciously holding their breath while they are trying to strengthen their pelvic floor muscles. It may sound like a very simple thing, but I want you to please try to imagine this if you were to be exercising your arms, and if you were to be clenching your jaw and holding your breath for the entire time that you were doing it. How strong do you think that your muscles would really be able to get? The answer, of course, is not very strong at all. And the very same principle holds true for your pelvic floor. When you hold your breath, you are inadvertently creating a great deal of downward pressure, instead of creating a sense of strength. The muscles will then begin to tighten in a way that is completely uncoordinated, and over the course of time, this can actually work to make the issue of urinary leakage even worse and not better. I once had a patient, Margaret, who had been very diligently doing her Kegel exercises for many, many years. But when I asked her to please demonstrate her technique for me, I could see that she was straining with every single fiber of her being. Her face was turning red and her breath was completely locked. But once she had learned how to breathe slowly and gently during each and every one of her contractions, her sense of physical control had improved in a matter of just a few short weeks. The second very common mistake is the act of confusing the use of lubricants with the use of moisturizers. This may sound like a very small and an insignificant detail to you, but I can assure you that it can make a very big and a very profound difference in your experience. A lubricant is a product that is specifically designed for use in the moment. Its primary purpose is to reduce any sense of friction during the experience of intimacy. A moisturizer, on the other hand, is a product that is designed for the long-term health of your tissues. It is very much like the lotion that you would use on the skin of your body. A great many women will come into my office and will say to me, "I have been using a lubricant every single night, but I am still feeling so dry and so sore during the day." And that is because lubricants do not work to restore the natural elasticity or the state of hydration in your tissues. They are only designed to make the experience of touch more comfortable in the moment. Without the regular use of a high-quality moisturizer, especially one that has been specifically designed for the purposes of vaginal health and for maintaining a healthy pH balance, your tissues can still continue to thin and to lose their natural state of resilience. According to the North American Menopause Society, the regular use of vaginal moisturizers, just 3 to 4 times per week, is one of the very simplest and safest ways to be able to preserve the natural elasticity of your tissues. The third very common mistake is a state of inconsistency. I will often hear women say to me, "I tried it for a few days, but then I just got too busy, or I just felt too silly doing it, so I stopped." And the profound truth of the matter is that your body is designed to respond to consistent patterns, and not to any kind of one-off or sporadic efforts. I would like for you to think about the daily habit of brushing your teeth. If you were to only brush your teeth just once a week, do you think that your gums would be able to stay healthy? Of course not. And in precisely the same way, if you are only engaging your pelvic muscles or moisturizing your delicate tissues on an occasional basis, you will never be able to see the many benefits of these practices begin to accumulate over time. This is not at all about the level of intensity of your efforts, it is all about the sense of rhythm. Even just 5 minutes of practice, performed several times a week, will always be able to outpace a full hour of practice that is only performed just once a month. And then there is a fourth and final mistake that almost no one ever talks about: the act of waiting until a state of pain has already appeared before you decide to take any kind of action. Far too many women will only come to see me after the experience of intimacy has already become quite uncomfortable for them, or after the issue of urinary leakage has already forced them to have to change their daily routines. They will simply wait for a state of crisis to arrive, all the while thinking to themselves that this is just a normal part of the aging process. But the profound truth of the matter is that these particular changes will often begin to occur very, very quietly, long before any of the associated symptoms have had a chance to become disruptive to your life. By the time that any kind of a physical discomfort has begun to show up, your tissues may have already begun to thin, your muscles may have already begun to weaken, and your hormones may have already begun to shift in a significant way. And the act of prevention will always be much easier than the act of repair. The very earlier that you are able to start a gentle and a consistent daily practice, the very easier that it will be for you to be able to maintain your sense of physical comfort and your personal sense of confidence. Let me give you a clear and a poignant example. I once worked with a wonderful woman by the name of Esther who was 68 years of age, and who had told me that she had not even thought about her own personal intimate health in many, many years. But then one morning, while she was out on a walk with some of her friends, she had noticed a very sudden and a very unexpected leak when she had laughed out loud. She had felt so incredibly embarrassed by this experience that she had then decided to avoid going out with them at all the very next week, and by the time that she had finally come to see me, she had already begun to significantly limit all of her daily activities. And as we began to trace the issue back in time, we were able to see that the signs of this issue had actually been there for many, many months. There had been a greater sense of dryness, there had been an occasional sense of urinary urgency, and there had been a host of other subtle little changes that she had simply dismissed as being just her age. If she had only been able to start a simple daily routine just 6 months earlier, she might have been able to completely prevent that one single moment of profound embarrassment. I know that it can often feel quite uncomfortable to have to think about all of these very personal details, but I can assure you that your own body is very quietly asking for your attention long before it ever begins to shout out for your help. By simply avoiding these 4 very common mistakes, the act of holding your breath, the act of confusing lubricants with moisturizers, the state of being inconsistent with your efforts, and the act of waiting for a state of pain to appear, you will be able to give to yourself the very best possible chance of being able to protect your own intimate health for many, many decades to come. Now, the wonderfully encouraging news in all of this is this. Even if you have already made all of these very same mistakes in the past, you can absolutely and completely begin again starting today. Your own body is a remarkably forgiving thing, and once you have been able to learn the right way to be able to do these things, the positive results of your efforts can often come much faster than you might expect. And that is exactly what we are going to do in the very next part of our discussion. I am going to walk you step by step through a very simple 10-minute daily routine that is designed to combine the practices of intentional breathing, of proper moisturizing, of a gentle form of pelvic engagement, and of the stimulation of your circulation. And please know that this is not at all about any kind of a pressure or of a performance. It is all about the act of giving to your own body what it so deeply and so fundamentally needs, in the most natural and in the most respectful way that is possible. So please take just a moment right now to ask yourself, have you ever made one of these very silly mistakes without even realizing that you were doing it? If so, please know that you are not at all alone in your experience. In fact, you are in very, very good company. And what matters the most of all is that you now have the knowledge that you need in order to be able to do things in a much different and in a much more effective way. And when you are able to put all of this newfound knowledge into your own personal practice, your own body can begin to respond to you with a renewed sense of strength, of comfort, and even of profound joy. Now that you are fully aware of all of the common mistakes that you should be sure to avoid, let's now turn our focus to what you should be doing instead. I want to be able to walk you through a very simple 10-minute daily practice that is both gentle and that has been proven to be able to support your circulation, your sense of physical comfort, and the strength of your pelvic floor for all women who are over the age of 60. I would like for you to please try to think of this as being a precious and a valuable gift that you can give to yourself each and every single day, a small and a simple routine that will be able to pay you back with incredible dividends in terms of how you feel, of how you are able to move, and of how you are able to connect with yourself. we are going to begin our practice with your own breath. For the very first 2 minutes of this practice, I would like for you to please try to sit in a very comfortable position or to lie down. I would then like for you to please place one of your hands on your lower abdomen and to then begin to practice some slow and some deep diaphragmatic breathing. I would like for you to please try to inhale very gently through your nose and to feel your own belly as it begins to rise up underneath your hand. And then I would like for you to please try to exhale very slowly through your mouth. This particular type of breathing will not only work to calm your entire nervous system, but it will also work to prepare your pelvic muscles to be able to activate in a much more effective and a much more coordinated way. According to some recent research that has been conducted by the Cleveland Clinic, the practice of diaphragmatic breathing, when it is paired with the practice of some simple pelvic floor exercises, can lead to a much better sense of muscle coordination and to a significant reduction in the incidence of urinary leakage. Next, I would like for you to please try to spend about 2 minutes of your time on the practice of moisturizing. I would like for you to please try to use a high-quality, pH-balanced vaginal moisturizer that has been specifically designed for the needs of postmenopausal women. Please understand that this is not at all a lubricant that is designed for the purposes of intimacy, but it is in fact a product that is designed to be able to hydrate and to be able to nourish your delicate tissues in very much the same way that a good quality face cream is able to do for the skin on your face. I would like for you to please try to apply a very small amount of this product as it has been directed, which is usually with your own clean fingers or with a simple applicator, and to then just think of it as the simple act of replenishing your own body's natural state of comfort. A number of different studies that have been supported by the North American Menopause Society have been able to confirm that the regular and the consistent use of these types of moisturizers can help to preserve the natural elasticity of your tissues, can help to reduce any sense of dryness, and can also help to prevent the process of thinning that is known as vaginal atrophy. For the very next 3 minutes of our practice, we are going to be focusing all of our attention on your own pelvic floor. These are going to be your Kegel exercises, but we are going to be sure to do them in the right way. I would like for you to please try to imagine that you are trying to gently stop the flow of your own urine in midstream. That very gentle and that very subtle squeeze that you are able to feel is the very act of your own pelvic floor being activated. I would like for you to please try to hold that gentle contraction for about 3 to 5 seconds and to then be sure to release it completely. I would like for you to please try to do this about 10 times and to be sure to breathe in a very natural and a very relaxed way as you are doing so. Please remember that this is not at all about the act of clenching your muscles as hard as you can. It is all about the act of engaging them in a very consistent and a very mindful way. And over the course of time, these gentle contractions will be able to build up a great deal of strength in the very hammock of muscles that is responsible for supporting your bladder, your uterus, and your rectum, which in turn can help you to be able to maintain your sense of physical control and your personal sense of confidence in your own daily life. Now let's go ahead and add in 2 minutes of some very gentle circulation work. This can be as simple as the act of some light and external touch, the application of a warm and a soothing compress, or if you feel comfortable doing so, the use of a simple and a safe device that has been specifically designed for the needs of older women with some soft and gentle edges and a very low level of vibration. The primary goal of this particular part of our practice is not at all to achieve a sense of intensity, but it is in fact to stimulate a healthy and a robust flow of blood to the area. Just as the simple act of walking is able to improve the circulation in your own legs, the act of a light and a gentle form of arousal is able to encourage the flow of your blood to the very delicate tissues of your vagina and of your clitoris, which in turn can help to keep them feeling both responsive and healthy. Some recent research that has been conducted by the Mayo Clinic has been able to note that the experience of a regular form of arousal can work to increase the delivery of oxygen to these particular tissues, which in turn can help to maintain your sense of physical sensation and can also work to reduce your sense of physical discomfort over the course of time. And finally, I would like for you to please try to spend just 1 single minute in a state of deep and of profound relaxation. I would like for you to please place your hand very gently over your own heart or over your own abdomen. I would then like for you to please close your own eyes and to just simply remind yourself, I truly and completely deserve this care. This one single moment can work to seal the entire practice, and it can also work to connect all of the many physical benefits of this practice to your own personal and emotional sense of well-being. A great many women have told me that this 1 single minute of their day can often become the most healing and the most restorative part of their entire day. when you are able to add it all up together, that is just a total of 10 minutes. 2 minutes of intentional breathing, 2 minutes of gentle moisturizing, 3 minutes of mindful pelvic engagement, 2 minutes of gentle circulation work, and 1 single minute of profound and of deep relaxation. When this simple routine is performed with a sense of consistency, it can very easily become a quiet and a calming anchor in your day. I would like for you to please try to imagine for just a moment how your own body might begin to respond to this practice after just a few short weeks. By the second week of your practice, you may begin to notice that you are experiencing a little bit less dryness or a little bit less irritation, and by the fourth week of your practice, your sense of bladder control may begin to feel a little bit steadier. And by the 6th to the 8th week of your practice, some women have even reported that they have experienced an improvement in their sense of physical sensation and have even been able to get a much better quality of sleep at night. Please remember that the results of this practice will of course vary from person to person, but what matters the very most of all is the consistency of your own personal effort. Your own body is designed to be able to thrive on a sense of rhythm. I can recall one particular woman, Janice, who had first begun this very same practice at the age of 72. At first she was quite skeptical of it. Just 10 minutes, she had said to me, that can't possibly make any kind of a real difference. But after just 3 short weeks of this practice, she had told me that her own sense of nighttime urgency had already begun to improve. And after just 2 short months of this practice, she had said to me, I feel as though I can finally laugh with my friends again, without having to worry at all. That newfound sense of confidence that she had been able to find was absolutely and completely priceless. The inherent beauty of this particular routine is that it is so incredibly adaptable. If you only have 5 minutes to spare on a particular day, you can simply do the breathing, a little bit of the moisturizing, and just a few of the Kegels. And if you happen to feel a little bit shy about the circulation work, you can simply start with just the relaxation step of the practice. The real key here is to simply start small and to then be sure to stay consistent with your efforts. And over the course of time, your own body will be sure to remind you of why those 10 precious minutes of your day are so very, very worth it. As you are listening to all of this, I would be so very honored if you would take just a moment to reflect which of these particular steps of the practice feels the most approachable for you right now. Is it the breathing? Is it the moisturizing? Or is it the pelvic floor work? Please share your own personal thoughts with me in the comments section, because your own personal journey may just be the very thing that inspires another woman to be able to begin her own. In the very next part of our discussion, I will be sharing with you a real-life patient story that will be able to show you just how incredibly transformative these simple and yet so very powerful habits can be. You will be able to see for yourself how one single woman was able to completely regain her own sense of confidence, her own sense of independence, and her own sense of profound joy, simply by starting with just 10 short minutes a day. I would now like to be able to bring all of this a little bit closer to home for you, with a very personal and a very powerful story. A few years ago, I had the pleasure of meeting a wonderful woman by the name of Joan. She was 74 years of age, she was a retired librarian, she was incredibly sharp-minded and witty, and she had a great love for her daily crossword puzzles. But when she had first come into my office, she had looked so very, very weary. She had leaned in very close to me and had whispered, "Stones, I now leak every single time that I laugh. And I have not been to my beloved book club in many, many months now, because I am just too embarrassed to go." She then went on to tell me that she had begun to avoid taking any long walks with her friends, that she had started to skip all of her family gatherings, and that she had even completely stopped traveling, all because she was living in a state of constant fear that the nearest bathroom might be just a little bit too far away for her. At first, Joan had simply thought that this was all just a normal and an unavoidable part of her own old age. She had simply come to accept it as being something that was completely inevitable. But when we had taken the time to examine her own pelvic health together, the profound truth of the matter had turned out to be much, much simpler than that. Her own muscles had simply begun to weaken from many, many years of complete and total disuse. Her delicate tissues had begun to grow much thinner, and she had completely lost all of her confidence in her own body. There was absolutely nothing at all that was broken about her. Her own body had simply and naturally adapted to a state of prolonged and of profound inactivity. We began to work together on a simple and a manageable plan for her, one that was almost completely identical to the very same 10-minute daily routine that I have just now shared with all of you. At first, she had had a great deal of doubt about it. Just 10 minutes, she had said to me, that is not going to be able to change very much. But she did agree to give it a try, and within just 3 short weeks of her new practice, she had begun to notice that she was now able to sneeze without any sense of fear. And by the 2nd month of her new practice, she had been able to return to her beloved book club, and by the 3rd month of her new practice, she was already beginning to plan a trip to be able to go and to visit her sister who was living out of state. The transformation that she had been able to experience was not just a purely physical one, it was also a profoundly emotional one. And one day she had said to me, "I truly feel as though I am myself once again." And that to me is the truest and the most profound measure of our success. Let me now give you a powerful and a vivid image for you to be able to hold on to. I would like for you to please try to imagine a simple garden hose that has not been used at all for the entire winter season. When you first turn on the water to it, the water will at first begin to just trickle out very slowly, and it will be sputtering and it will be very uneven, but as the flow of the water is able to continue, that very same hose will begin to become much more supple once again. And then the water will be able to run in a much more smooth and in a much more even way, and the plants will then be able to receive all of the wonderful nourishment that they so deeply need. Your own pelvic tissues and your own pelvic muscles are not at all any different from that. Without a regular and a consistent flow of both blood and of stimulation, they will inevitably begin to stiffen, they will begin to lose their natural flexibility, and they will eventually stop being able to respond in the way that they once did. But with a gentle and a steady and a consistent use, a new sense of life can begin to return to them. Your circulation will begin to improve, your tissues will begin to plump up with a fresh supply of oxygen, and your sense of physical sensation will begin to reawaken. And here is something else that Joan was able to discover on her own personal journey. The change that she had been able to experience was not just in her own body, it was also in the very way that she had begun to carry herself in the world. Her own daughter had later told me, "My mom now laughs so much louder than she used to. She now stands so much taller, and she has even begun to dress herself in much more colorful clothing." That is exactly what can begin to happen when you are able to reclaim not just your own personal health, but also your own personal sense of confidence. I have been able to see this very same pattern play out in the lives of my own patients countless numbers of times. A woman will often begin her own personal journey with a great deal of skepticism, and perhaps even with a great deal of shame. She will often think to herself that it is simply too late for her. But then through the simple and yet so very powerful act of some small and some daily acts of self-care, her own body will begin to whisper back to her, "I am still here, I can still be able to feel, and I can still be able to thrive." And then that very same whisper will begin to grow into a much more steady and a much more confident voice, and before too long her entire life will begin to feel so much more vibrant to her. I so very deeply want for you to be able to know that this very same possibility is well within the reach of you too. You do not need any kind of expensive medical treatments or any kind of complicated and time-consuming routines. All that you truly need is just 10 short minutes of a consistent and of a compassionate form of self-care. Just as a beautiful garden is able to flourish when it is watered on a very regular basis, your own intimate health can be able to flourish when you are able to give to it a steady and a consistent sense of your own attention. Now I would be so very honored to ask you if Joan's very personal story resonates with you in any way. What is one particular area of your own life that you would most like to be able to feel a little bit more confident in? Is it the simple act of being able to laugh with your own friends? Is it the act of being able to travel without any sense of worry? Or is it simply the act of being able to sit in a state of comfort in your own home? Please share your own personal goals with me in the comments section, because your own personal goals may be the very thing that reminds another woman that she is not at all alone in her own personal journey. In the next and in the final part of our discussion today, we will be sure to pull everything together. I will be sure to recap all of the essential lessons that we have been able to learn today. I will be sure to give you a very simple and a very practical roadmap that you can begin to use to be able to track your own personal progress, and I will be sure to leave you with a very hopeful and a very encouraging message for you to be able to carry forward with you. Because this particular journey is not just about the act of preventing your own sense of physical discomfort, it is in fact all about the act of embracing your own sense of vitality and of profound joy at every single age. We have covered a great deal of very important ground together today. So let's now take just a moment to pause and to be able to gather all of the most important lessons that we have been able to learn. First of all, you were able to learn that all of the little things, your own breath, your own moisturizer, your own pelvic muscles, and your own circulation, all matter in a very deep and a very profound way. Just 10 short minutes a day can be able to help you to be able to preserve the health of your own delicate tissues, can be able to help you to be able to improve your own sense of bladder control, and can also be able to help you to be able to maintain that precious and that valuable sense of physical sensation that is able to keep you feeling so deeply and so profoundly connected to your own body. Second of all, you were able to see for yourself just how incredibly easy it can be to be able to slip into some of the most common mistakes, the act of holding your own breath, the act of confusing the use of lubricants with the use of moisturizers, the act of practicing in an inconsistent way, or the act of waiting until a state of pain has already appeared. And please know that these are not at all any kind of personal failures on your part, they are simply the signs that no one has ever taken the time to be able to teach you the difference. But now you are able to know so much better, and the act of gaining this new knowledge is the very first and the most important step to be able to make a positive change. Third of all, we were able to walk through the very routine itself, 2 minutes of some deep and of some intentional breathing, 2 minutes of some gentle and of some proper moisturizing, 3 minutes of some gentle and of some mindful pelvic floor contractions, 2 minutes of some gentle and of some stimulating circulation work, and 1 single minute of some profound and of some deep relaxation. It is a simple, it is a doable, and it is a sustainable practice, a practice that is able to fit very easily into your own day, just like the simple act of brushing your own teeth. And finally, you were able to hear the inspiring story of Joan, a woman who had thought that she was beginning to lose her own personal sense of independence, but who was then able to discover that, with just a few short minutes of a consistent and of a mindful form of self-care, she was once again able to laugh, to travel, and to live her own life without any sense of fear at all. Her incredible transformation is the living proof that you are never ever too old, that you are never ever too far gone, and that you are never ever too late to be able to begin. So here is my final and my most important message for you today. Your own body is not at all finished. It is in fact still patiently waiting for your own personal sense of attention, for your own personal sense of kindness, and for your own personal sense of care. You do not at all need to be perfect, and you do not at all need to be spending hours upon hours in any kind of a complicated or a time-consuming routine. All that you truly need to do is to simply begin with just 10 short minutes a day, and to then just simply trust that your own body is still able to respond, because it can, and it most certainly will. I would now like to be able to encourage you to set a small and a simple intention for yourself for today. Perhaps tonight, just before you go to bed, you can try to do just 2 minutes of some deep diaphragmatic breathing and just 3 simple Kegel contractions. Or perhaps tomorrow morning, you can simply apply a high-quality moisturizer and then just simply remind yourself, I truly and completely deserve this care. It does not at all matter where you are able to start, it only matters that you are able to start. Every single step that you are able to take will count, and I would be so very honored to be able to hear from you. In the comments section below, please be sure to share with me just one single part of the 10-minute plan that you now feel that you are ready to be able to try this week. Will it be the breathing? Will it be the moisturizing? Or will it be the pelvic floor exercises? Or will it perhaps be the simple act of just placing your own hand over your own heart, and of just simply giving to yourself the full and the unconditional permission to be able to reconnect with yourself? Your own words just might be the very thing that is able to inspire another woman who may be feeling a little bit hesitant to be able to take her own very first step. At Elder Care Wellness, we so deeply believe that all women who are over the age of 60 are so very deserving of not only a sense of medical accuracy, but also of a sense of profound compassion and of deep encouragement. You are so very deserving of the right to be able to feel confident in your own body, to be able to feel comfortable in your own daily life, and to be able to feel so deeply and so profoundly connected to your own innate sense of vitality. And you are so very deserving of the right to be able to have some honest and some open conversations that are able to say to you that you still matter, because you most certainly do. So if today's video has been able to speak to you in any way, I would be so very grateful if you would please give it a like, if you would please share it with a friend, and if you would please subscribe to our channel so that you will never miss any of these very important discussions. And every single week, we will be sure to dive even deeper into the subject of women's health after the age of 60 with some very practical and some very actionable steps that you can begin to use right away. Before we close, let me just leave you with a thought that I will so often share with my own patients in my own office. The process of aging gracefully does not at all mean that you have to be giving things up. It means that you have to be adapting, that you have to be reconnecting, and that you have to be honoring your own body in some new and in some different ways. Just 10 short minutes a day may sound like a very small amount of time. But those small and those simple actions have the profound and the incredible power to be able to protect your own personal sense of freedom, your own personal sense of confidence, and your own personal sense of profound joy for many, many years to come. I'm Dr. Lee Stones and I thank you for your time, and before we close, let me remind you this video is for educational purposes only. It does not replace medical advice. Every woman's body is unique. If you are experiencing pain, significant changes, or have personal concerns, please consult with your healthcare provider. Your well-being deserves personalized care. Thank you so very much for joining me here today. Please take a very deep breath. Please place your own hand over your own heart, and please know this: you are not at all done, you are not at all broken, and you are most certainly not at all invisible. You are in fact still evolving, and you are so very deserving of the right to be able to feel alive.